Before we begin with the chaplain's prayers, I would like to remind everyone in the gallery to respect the proceedings of this meeting. Any interruptions or disturbances will be addressed promptly, and I will not hesitate to order removal from the chamber if necessary. If you're asked to leave the chamber, please comply promptly. Thank you for your cooperation. I can ask you to remain standing while Reverend Martin Heafy says prayers.
Let us pray. We thank you for the blessings of living in this borough of Wyre, for the freedoms we enjoy, for all your abundant mercy to us. And we pray for those whose work it is to maintain and extend those blessings. All who are given authority and responsibility among us in the work of this council, praying for its officers and staff, and for the privilege of serving as elected representatives of the borough. Direct and use our influence, that together we may build a community whose life does honour to your name. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Amen. Almighty God, from whom comes every good and perfect gift, grant to those who hold office in this borough the spirit of justice and truth and of wisdom, that mindful of their responsibility and of the needs of those they serve, they may promote the true welfare of this community and advance your kingdom on earth. Guide us, we pray, in the business before us tonight, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Keighley. Please be seated. Thank you all for attending. Before we proceed with the items on the agenda, I need to remind you of the usual housekeeping rules. There are no fire alarm tests planned for this evening, so if the alarm sounds, please leave the chamber by the nearest door, then follow the illuminated fire exit signs and assemble in the car park at the rear of the building. And will you all please ensure that your phones and tablets are on silent. Perfectly needed, but a gentle reminder about appropriate behaviour in the council chamber. We ask that everyone respect councillors and officers when business is being carried out. If a member of the public interrupts the proceedings, I shall intervene accordingly, but I don't think we've got any by the looks of things. You do have the right to film the meeting if you wish, but I would like to know beforehand whether they plan to do this, and if you do, can you please put your hand up now? No, thank you. First item on this evening's agenda is apologies for absence. We've received apologies from Councillors Rayner, Rimmer, Sorensen and Wells and Collinson, and Councillor Vincent also submits his apologies as he's been taken unwell, and I want to wish him a speedy recovery.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, can I offer apologies from Councillor Swatton, please?
Yes. Noted, thank you. We also have apologies from Chief Executive Rebecca Huddleston. So, apart from that, any more apologies yet? Thanks.
Councillor Belshaw.
Councillor Belshaw, duly noted, thank you. Next item on the agenda is confirmation of minutes. Can I please have a proposal that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 3rd of July 2025 be approved as the correct record?
I'd like to propose, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Yes, I second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Does anyone want to comment on the factual accuracy of the minutes or propose an amendment? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was delighted when I read the council minutes to note that my daughter Alice Higginson was in attendance at the last meeting. I think she'd make a fine addition to this authority, actually. I assume it's an error, Mr. Mayor. I don't know how this has come about, but it gave us a bit of a chuckle at home. So I assume that that is an error. I think she'd be sat on this side of the council chamber as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
So would those members present at the 3rd of July meeting who are in favour of confirming the minutes as a correct record, please clearly indicate. Thank you. Obviously none against. The minutes of the 3rd July meeting are confirmed. The next item on the agenda is item 3, declarations of interest. Do any members or officers have any interest to declare on any of the items included on the agenda? Take that as a no, thank you. The next item is item 4, announcements. I'd just like to update the council on a recent fundraising event at the Bull Hotel, which we arranged to raise money for the Salvation Army. It was a quiz, bingo, karaoke, you name it. And although it wasn't a brilliant day weather-wise, we did raise £400 for the Salvation Army. The only other thing I'd like to add is that all the events that I've been to, it's so good to see the good that's going on in various communities, but too few people are aware. So let's keep spreading that, if you will. Thank you. We have no accepted questions from the public or questions on notice from councillors. So the next item is item 7, executive reports. And a polite reminder that each speaker has 3 minutes only, and there will be 10 minutes of speaking overall for each executive report. Please clearly indicate by raising your hand if you wish to speak, and please also note that I may refuse supplementary questions in order to ensure that as many different speakers as possible are able to ask a question or make a comment within the 10 minutes. First, the report of the Leader of the Council, which I believe Councillor Berry is going to deliver. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll do my best to respond to any inquiries, questions that members will have arising from the report of our Leader, Michael Vincent.
Thank you, Councillor Higginson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are you aware, Mr. Mayor, of the ongoing concerns of people in Thornton, particularly in Borough, with all these issues of land contamination, the smell from Jameson Road, the additional multiple housing developments? It's with great sadness that I have to report that 2 of my constituents who moved to this area less than 5 years ago, their dream home, wanting to retire in this beautiful part of the Fylde Coast, has now become an absolute nightmare. What with the approval of the incinerator, it appears to be the final straw. They really now are heartbroken and are trying to sell their homes. And I'd like to just make a comment on the fact that on 3.2 with the land contamination, where it's 3.3, I beg your pardon, Mr. Mayor, it is important to note that no areas have been determined as contaminated land, etc. But the effects of all of this, there is an issue, not necessarily as yet proven because the investigations go on, but there is no doubt that this is starting now to affect house sales and the valuation of housing property. and my two constituents, I'll refer to him as John and his wife, now are absolutely devastated by all of this, and are being told that anyone that may wish to buy a property like this, there is a contamination issue. I've spoken to several estate agents this week. I've spoken with their advice to some solicitors that particularly, Mr Mayor, deal with this issue, and there is starting to become a pattern where property prices are being affected and house sales. And I know that the economy isn't at its best and house sales generally will be affected, but compared to different parts of the borough, there is starting to become a pattern. My question, therefore, Councillor Berry, would be, what reassurances can this authority give me, but more importantly, residents in the borough, when it comes to house sales and devaluation of house prices? We may consider that this isn't an issue, but I believe it is an issue for residents in this borough. So I seek your guidance, and I wonder about that. And if I also may ask, as the incinerator submission was proposed, what was the council's position on this? I know it was approved at the county council, but my understanding was that this authority had no objections on this submission. So there you go, it's 2 for the price of 1, special offer from Councillor Riggington tonight. So if you could give us some answers to that, I'd be very grateful. Thank you.
Councillor Berry, would you like to respond?
Yes. Thank you. I understand the concern of residents. Sadly, we've had to go through this investigation. It was right and proper that once this was flagged up to the council that we had to take action. And obviously, I think the most important thing is that we do give true information and don't go too far down the line that has not been in any way reached. I think it's right and proper that we have made this note that no areas have been determined as contaminated land, because that's an important legal point that has to be made. That point has not yet been reached. So I think the main thing that we can do is to say that we want this investigation to be completed as soon as possible, and thereafter we want the conclusions of that investigation to be given to us. Obviously scientists will have to give some sort of view on that, and I take the view that we have lived with this situation for quite some time. I take encouragement from that, but I think we've got to go through the process. I think it's important that we say that we are doing the right processes, but we're not going to say, we're not going down the line of taking extreme views as to what may or may not happen. We are nowhere near a stage that we've reached that we are of major concern in that respect. As regards the incinerator, this is for Lancashire County Council to determine. We do have concern, and I think it's very much on environmental grounds. I think we need to know exactly what proposed incinerator they have in mind. There is a possibility of having an incinerator that is not harmful to the environment, and I think it's important that we demand the best incinerator that we can for this area. But at the end of the day, I think we've got to go back to the county councillors and say to them, look, it's for you to determine. You do it in the best interests of the residents that you represent. Unfortunately, this planning issue is not one that we deal with directly.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Vale.
Mr. Mayor, on a point of clarification, I know the leader of the council isn't here, and I beg your indulgence further. It's too important, this. I agree with everything you said, Councillor Berry, but the two questions were not answered. The answer to the first question simply is, well, I don't know, perhaps that could be the answer, but you didn't answer that question. It's about what reassurance about property prices and valuations. The second one was what our position was. We are, while on the planning issue, yes, it's the county council, I understand that, but this authority, this planning authority, has a comment to make on this, and I want to know what that was. Was it no comment? Was it no objection? I did ask the question, and I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, that Councillor Berry hasn't answered the question. If you don't know, tell me you don't know, but don't just not answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Berry.
I can't give you any assurance on prices of houses. I mean, that's something that's quite well outside my knowledge and belief and what we can do about it. All I can say is, as far as I'm concerned, life has gone on like this for quite some time, and we have lived with what we knew happened with ICI on that site, and we're here to tell the story. And as regards the incinerator, I think we were very much tied with the use of that site that has been designated. I know we are making objections on the environmental side because
So we objected, did we?
I think we put in. I think we have put something in. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, thank you both. Councillor Fair.
Just to clarify first, my understanding is that we didn't put an objection, well, we put a comment in, but that was no objection, that was last year, but this has been resubmitted. My understanding it's been resubmitted this year and passed by the new Reform-led County Council. So whatever objection needs to go in from Wyre, it needs to go in pretty soon, because my understanding again is that that application is not for a zero emissions incinerator. Unless it's changed from last year, it isn't zero emissions, and zero, if it's not that, then it doesn't meet our climate change impact, what we're trying to achieve. And I expect it doesn't meet what Lancashire County Council are trying to do with their commitments to climate change. So whatever we do, this council needs to be objecting pretty soon, because the people of the area have had enough with these air pollution issues. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. According to the Life in Wyre survey results, overall satisfaction rates with the local area have reduced from 78% in 2022 to 64% in 2025, a very worrying 14% reduction in satisfaction levels. Satisfaction with the promenade and beach maintenance down by 17%, playgrounds and open spaces down by 13%, waste and recycling collection down by 11%, tackling dog fouling down by 11%. That none of the portfolio holder reports refer to this important data is a worrying omission. If you aren't recognising the problem, how are you possibly going to fix the problem? There are many actions to take, but for a start, the executive needs to take heed of the fact that 87% of the respondents support, strongly or otherwise, measures to protect and enhance our natural environment. In my mind, that means this council needs to commit to three things immediately. One, commit to closing down the Jameson Road landfill ASAP, and then taking the necessary remedial action, ensuring that residents never again have to endure what trans waste have been putting people through on a daily basis. Two, commit to ensuring the enterprise zone has a fit-for-purpose master plan that recognises residents' valid concerns about our environment, taking into full account climate change. Instead of pursuing dirty energy projects such as waste-to-energy incinerators, the enterprise zone should concentrate on making use of cleaner and greener energy. This council should be doing all it can, working with the enterprise zone to take full advantage of the Orsted transmission routing opportunities by upgrading the Stanley substation and extending that into Hill House. The council should be writing to Ofgem regulators as a matter of urgency. Thirdly, commit to tackling the known PFOA contamination problem swiftly, demanding to know what the health effects are, and also demanding remedial action where there is a deemed requirement. Do you agree with these commitments? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Berry.
Yeah,
It is disappointing. Those results are disappointing because I believe this council is achieving a heck of a lot for the residents of Wyre. I think it reflects, I'll be quite honest, I think it reflects the unhappiness there has been with the Jameson roadside. I think that has caused a lot of upset and unhappiness within our society, which I understand completely. We're doing our best to tackle that. And also I think it's fair to say that there is a general discontent throughout the country with politics and politicians, and that is reflected by what we hear every day on social media and on the television and in our newspapers. And I think those sort of things have come out in this survey, and as politicians certainly we've got to try and rectify it and show that we can be trusted to carry out the work that our residents want us to carry out for them and look after their interests. You know, we are doing our best with regard to Jameson. I think the leader takes this matter very, very seriously. He's heavily involved in looking into it, and he wants to make sure that we get the best advice and that we can get the best result for it. But it's not just a question of stopping things being tipped into the side. I think it's important going forward that we do make sure that that site is made safe and it will be able to be returned to nature, and we can cover it as a woodland or something like that. So it's not just a question of immediately saying we don't want any more in it. We've got to make sure that that site is made good and made safe, because if it isn't, that's going to present us with problems for the future. I agree entirely with what you said about Porfaya. I tried to say that in my response to you. We need to get the results done as ASAP, and I hope that the scientists will also come up with the goods and give us a firm statement of are there any issues. I know we've dealt with it, so I'm hoping that I'm an optimist on this, that they will say, well look, we do believe that these are below the threshold, but we do need them to come forward and sort this out matter as soon as possible. I agree with you on that.
Thank you, Councillor Berry. We've run vastly over time on the subject to give everyone a fair shout. So I'm now concluding the leaders' report, and we're going to move on to the resources portfolio holder, which is Councillor McKay, if you will deal with the report.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, my report's before members. Happy to take any questions or comments.
Councillor Stevenson, you put your hand up, I think.
I'm obliged to you, Mr Mayor, that I certainly have put my hand up, and I'm glad you've seen it. What I'm going to comment really is, well, I'm going to pass a bit of time on, that's for sure. It's it's to be or not to be, and concerning governance electoral reform proposals. Now I find, I listen to various people talking about them, and I understand about the voting age, which will be lowered to 16 for all elections. But when we talk about all elections, is this likely to come in before the next general election, if there's by-elections and the legislation has been passed? So that's really something, Leslie, which you might not know as much of it as I do, but I don't know nothing, so you might not know a bit more. Right, so I think it is a good idea, and I'm sure you would agree that 16 is, you know, when you're 16, you're going to court.
No, when you were 16. Ridiculous.
I do, yeah, I remember when I was 16, I was a teddy boy. So that's another, I don't want to mention that. What I would like to say, Leslie, is, have you any idea when
Councillor Stevenson, I'll ask you to stick to the subject if you will. Thank you.
Next May, is there going to be any news on what's going to happen? You know, serious at all. I'll be very, very much obliged to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would you care to respond to that if possible?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Stevenson. Regards to the voting age, it is intended to be in place by the next general election. Whether we get to that point, who knows? I hope if that is the case, that there is something brought into schools, because from the 16-year-olds I see, I have concerns about them going to the voting stations. And if we're going to do this, it needs to be something that's brought through secondary schools, so they have some understanding of what they're voting for. As opposed to what you said about the local elections in 2 years' time, potentially in May, and who knows, it's local government reorganisation, they might push it back here, we don't know, and it's probably your own government who'll be telling us that and giving us that news at some point.
What do you say about this?
Your question has been answered as best possible, so thank you. Councillor Cartridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's regarding 4.3 and 4.4 of the report. I was really pleased to read this for those on localised council tax support. You've got nearly 6,000 people throughout the borough who have received supermarket vouchers to help them. Vulnerable elderly, parents and children, those on DLA. I just think it goes to show how much as a borough, how much we're supporting some of the most vulnerable people in our society. So thank you.
Would you care to respond, Councillor?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Carter. The team are excellent with this. We get any sort of grant from anything like this, incredibly quick priority in getting this money allocated and getting it out to people who really need it. That is one of our real strengths. We did it during COVID and we're still doing it now, so yeah, we're doing it.
That concludes the consideration of the resources portfolio holders report. We'll now move on to the report of the street scene, parks and open spaces portfolio holder. Councillor Bridge, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My report's before you. Happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Duffy, I think hand went off.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Bridge, Fairhoff Road has been an absolute outrage due to the weed situation. Year on year we have the same problem with swathes of unsightly weeds adorning most every street and back alley in the area. I understand and appreciate the weather can sometimes play its part in restricting spraying sessions. However, the weather this year has been pretty decent, with us enjoying a pleasant spring and summer months. In fact, we even had drought conditions declared here in Lancashire. So I don't think that the weather can be used this year as an acceptable excuse from the contractor for the reasoning behind the appalling weed situation which we have experienced again in many parts of the borough. I know that you here at Wyre outsource the work on behalf of LCC, who have the responsibility for keeping our highways in a fit state, but it would be that despite why you're paying for extra weed sprays to the contractor has proved itself to be clearly incapable of providing an acceptable standard of service to Wyre's residents and taxpayers, and I think that is the biggest issue, an acceptable standard. So two questions. Firstly, will Wyre Council seek out an alternative company who could perhaps do a better job than the present contractor? And secondly, is it perhaps time that LCC were lobbied to increase the funding within the public realm agreement pertaining to highways, and perhaps our reformed county councils over here could actually get up and do something and lobby the ruling group at County Hall to try and secure an increase in funding to use in Wyre to improve our all too green streets and alleys. Can I just add on a lighter note, it was suggested in here just a few months back that in the near future, Councillor Atkins, I may no longer have to traipse up and down the Fleetwood back alleys to report on huge amounts of fly tipping. Well, obviously, it's hard to even access these alleys, never mind spot all the fly tip rubbish through the leaves and fauna that have been allowed to thrive and turn our back streets into jungles. In fact, the last time I was hacking my way behind Hesketh Place to reach some fly tipping, I was half hoping that David Attenborough would appear through the foliage and lead me to safety. Thank you.
Councillor Bridge.
Well, Councillor, you brought up the weather. And this is a national problem, as we know through all our networks. If you go anywhere in the country, you will see that this weather has been perfect for actually having weeds growing. I mean, even our own driveways, gardens, you name it. So, with regards to spraying, we can spray twice a year, but sometimes a bit more. Now, the contractor is not a national contractor. They don't do everywhere, but I've been all over the country over the summer, and everywhere's the same. All contractors can't be incompetent. Now, what we try and do is we try and use weed killers that are environmentally friendly. And let's be honest, they are not as good as using just killer chemicals. But we don't want to use killer chemicals. If you wanted no weeds in the back alleys in this sort of weather, we could do that, but it would be to a terrible cost to the environment. I'm still speaking.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I will just check. If I can, I'll do a quick one.
Right. So, weeds are a problem. They're a perennial problem. We know this. I have many, many emails from your colleagues and my colleagues as well about this. But they are something that nature is taking its course that we are fighting against. If you want to increase the council tax so that we can be weed free, then please put it forward in your next manifesto, because that's what we would need. We would need to be spraying them every week. I did my driveway 3 weeks ago. It's now full of them again. So how often are you wanting us to spray?
You've not answered the question. My question was obviously perhaps get county to increase
right,
their budget. And not only that, but we have had issues. I have emailed streets in themselves regarding how they conduct themselves, these sprayers. They race down our streets. They miss the weeds because they're under pressure to get so many streets done. This is the issue with these. They're trying to do a massive area and cut costs. That is my argument. And again, that they will use weather and etc. But I have got pictures of them missing weeds, and they actually contacted streets in straight away one day when they went whizzing down the street and nearly got a child coming out the front door. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for contacting streets in. I wasn't aware of that. I had no idea. With regard to Lancashire County Council, I've yet to attend a meeting. It will be the first meeting of the Waste Partnership, Lancashire Waste Partnership in Preston. I think that's the end of this month, and I'm not going to prejudge what they have to say. It's a new regime that we are going to be working with, and let's just see what they have to say. If I don't like what they have to say, I promise you I will tell them. Okay?
Thank you, Councillor Bridge. I'll give you the list of people who put their hand up, and I would ask to keep as brief as possible. I allow a bit more time for people to make their point, but I would ask you to keep that in mind. So our list of hands up, we've got Councillor Ellison, followed by Councillor Fail, followed by Councillor Cartridge, and finally Councillor Kay. So, Councillor Ellison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, I'll be really quick and I'll speak really quick. Well, on behalf of all the marginal councillors, we're delighted to hear that Poulton Park has once again received a Green Flag Award. So we'd like to thank all the volunteers associated with the park and also the team at Wyre for keeping the park in tip-top condition and looking really good. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I attended there on Tuesday. Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Tuesday for the opening. It was fantastic. We had 2 different nursery schools. We had a primary and a secondary school there. They all cut the ribbon, so they all had a go at that. They all got certificates. The people, as ever, as I found with all the volunteers around Wyre, are just fabulous. You meet them. I mean, I've met them a few times, but they're so welcoming, committed. I just have great pride in being a part of the community that they are part of, and they've done a wonderful job. Our officers, they were telling me, the volunteers were telling me, that it looked like that we wouldn't be able to open the park on time, and our officers went above and beyond and worked so many hours and so hard to push it through that it wasn't on time. and I say it every month, and I will not apologise for saying this, we have a fabulous workforce, and our colleagues on the other side of the desk, if you like, and they proved it by what happened with Hawthorne Park to get it open for officially for Tuesday.
Thank you, Councillor Bridge. I can witness that. I was there, and what a brilliant park it is. Councillor Fail.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. With regard to environment enforcement, it was very pleasing to read para 3.5 of the positive community engagement by Wyre's in-house officers. Sadly, too often this sort of common sense way of working was absent during the years of outsourcing of environmental enforcement. Can the Cabinet member please confirm whether the important work is to be retained in-house, or if the Cabinet is going to pursue another outsourcing exercise, despite this having failed now on 3 separate occasions? Perhaps, given the local government review, it would be prudent for the Council to talk to other prospective district councils in the likely unitary with a view to being better prepared with regard to environmental enforcement. Thank you.
Councillor Bridge.
Well, you've asked the question on premise that the three previous outsourcing was a failure. I wouldn't agree with you that all 3 were. It was more a case of financial for why they pulled out 2 of them. So anyway, we are keeping it in-house. We are going to be appointing the officers. We are going to, well, experiment with this idea of actually educating people rather than just immediately fining them and see how that works. If it works and it seems to do it, then fine. So, but this is it's an organic thing, although I will tell you that we are going to keep it in-house.
That's good news.
Right. Sorry, was there another question? Right.
Well, you could talk to the other unitaries, the other districts who potentially about what they're doing, so that we've got a collective view going forward.
Well, we do. And in fact, we talk to a lot of people. We've just, I think it's mentioned in my report, that there's a group of volunteers that we've reached out to. I haven't met them, I'll be honest with you. Our officers have. And with regards to fly tipping, and it's coordinating the efforts across Lancashire or parts of Lancashire. So we do things like that. We work very closely with Blackpool. In fact, we've come up with the bulky waste ideas with them, etc. So we do talk, we look for best practice, and I have to say I'm very proud in that they often come, other boroughs, not necessarily our neighbours, have been coming to us looking at our best practice and our officers, how they deliver the fantastic service that they do.
Thank you, Councillor Bridge. We're vastly over time on that, and we've got 3 more questions. So I would suggest that we have one more question in here, and the other 2 actually email the relevant officers. So who put the hand up first? Councillor Cartridge, I think? Yeah.
I'd just like to look at 2.10 and 2.11 of your report. Thank you, Mr Mayor, by the way. I was really encouraged to read this as well, about the Young Wyre and Blue competition. I've had first-hand experience of this, and it's great to see so many schools getting involved with an initiative from Wyre Borough. It's very important because these are issues which children, young people really care about in the environment, but also it gets them close to democracy. So I'd like to say thank you and thanks for all the good work you're doing on this aspect.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of it as well. That also shouldn't go unremarked that a lot of other schools, especially secondary schools, do have various schemes. I'm thinking in particular Baines at High Cross there. They have an entire garden. Lots of other schools do as well. So it's obviously an important aspect of as well as an important part of the development in our democracy and keeping our borough beautiful. And if anybody else has any questions that you can't ask now, email me.
Thank you, Councillor. I apologise that people can't actually have their questions put across in front of the full council tonight, but there are time limits and I do stretch them. So please, the ones who haven't been able to speak on this subject, please email. Thank you. That concludes the Street Scene Parks and Open Spaces Portfolio Holders Report. now move on to Planning Policy and Economic Development Portfolio holder, Councillor Marinell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reports to all members. Oh wow, happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Please give us a moment while we're writing our list.
I was second. I'm on the list, Mr. Mayor, because the arms are aching it. So you're on the list, alright.
As it's you, we'll add you.
I was second.
Sorry?
As it's you, we'll add you to the list.
Good. Thank you. Because that's me, aren't
Well, as Eric Morecambe said, we've got all the right notes, but not necessarily in the right order. So, starts off with Councillor Fail.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's beyond disappointing that Wyre Council didn't submit an objection during the original consultation period for the incinerators, and despite me requesting such infrastructure projects come to the Climate Change Committee for their input, nothing has happened. Whether it's that committee or the planning committee or elsewhere, it's a matter of course. This council and its councillors need to have the ability of providing meaningful input. The incinerator plan has been approved with an out-of-date Lancashire Minerals and Waste Local Plan. It's been approved with an out-of-date Enterprise Zone Master Plan. It has been approved with without an impact assessment on either Wyre's or Lancashire's climate change commitment. It's been approved despite concerns that access to the proposed incinerator plant could jeopardise any future reinstatement of the Fleetwood to Poulton rail line. Seemingly, the incinerator plant would require either a level crossing or a new bridge into Hill House. On the rail matter, I wrote to the Leader on the 6th of August, but have not had a definitive answer. Wyre Council has made commitments to the Fleetwood to Poulton rail line in the Economic Development and Visitor Economy Strategy, and with you having previously stated that the road into the new Hill House entrance will be designed to support the rail reinstatement, can we have your assurance here and now that Wyre Council will adhere to its commitments and ensure that whatever developments take place on Hill House, the rail reinstatement takes priority and that it won't be jeopardised by short-term, ill-thought-out, dirty energy proposals? And finally, will the Council be formally objecting to the incinerator plan?
Councillor Marinell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your questions. I'll get to them as fast as I possibly can. The Hill House Master Plan being out of date for the incinerator wouldn't have made any difference anyway. The incinerator decision, as you know, comes from LCC, two of which the county councillors are sitting opposite me as we speak. I don't ever hear them speak in the chamber. Whether they'll speak tonight about anything, I've no idea whatsoever. But it's down to them, it's down to LCC. We can't make that decision. We can object, we can object as much as we want. We can object every single day of the week. It's still down to these people sitting opposite us and the people in the Reform Administration and County Council. The rail line, MPL, 2 years ago nearly, gave me assurances that there will be a new bridge built over there to accommodate whatever came forward. It's still down to MPL to do that work. If they want to do that, that's fine. You know as well as I do, we've had this conversation many times, and I've said it many times in this chamber. Every single person sitting here, I presume every single person, I'm not sure about the 4 people sitting opposite me, but we want to see the rail line up there. It would be fantastic. It would be fantastic for the borough, it would be fantastic for Poulton and for Thornton and for Clevedon and for especially Fleetwood. It would be a brilliant thing to have done, and there's no doubt about that. And we don't disagree on that in any way, shape or form. I think I've covered everything that you wanted to cover, but as I say, the incinerator, it's down to them.
And we're going to be formally objecting to this, and can you confirm we'll be formally commenting or objecting to the incinerator plan?
I will find out for you and get back to you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The portfolio holder
will be aware that the ongoing consultation on parking in Cleaver's Town Centre refers to traffic and pedestrian safety, improving amenities. Of course, they're all very laudable aims. However, given your role in supporting economic development, could you comment on the potential impact of our local shops and businesses? My worry is that removing free accessible parking will reduce footfall, which will further hit local businesses. Customers will go elsewhere where parking is free and accessible, so they'll go out of our town, drive down Victoria Road, head to Morrison's or even Poulton. I also wonder whether you could comment on the expected impact of the proposals for on-street parking beyond the town centre. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your questions. I don't know if any parking that's actually been taken away in Cleveland is.
It will be shortly. Consultation ends on the 24th of September. The plans are everywhere.
This is the UK SPF.
Outside the Halifax, outside the Carter, all parking bays are going.
Okay, so you're on about the bit on Victoria Road.
All Victoria Road.
Right, so I'm with you. I thought you meant all the parking that was
No, all the Victoria Road.
I would like to see it completely pedestrianised around there. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. But I think we'll have to wait till the consultation period in that case. Because I can't comment unless if the consultation is still going on. That's not something I can comment on. You've got to wait until the end of the consultation period. Once that's done, we can take it from there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. We've got a very long list here and it's going to run vastly over time. So my thought is, are we all right if the initial questions come from people who haven't had a chance to put a question? Do we all agree with that?
No.
Yes.
Oh, I'll ignore you then and just get on with the list and then stop everybody within the next few minutes. So, Councillor Duffy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Marinell, obviously you'll no doubt be aware of the massive budget overspend at Fleetwood Markets, a total up to press just shy of 179,000. This has occurred, I am led to believe, as a result of the running costs after the installation of the ground source heat pumps. This new system that has no one undertook any due diligence when investing this for the market. This new system that, I have been informed, is not fit for purpose, so much so that an expert has been commissioned to look into the function of it, which could also possibly mean another cost incurred. So, just how are you going to recover this huge overspend? Hopefully it will be through whoever's installed this at the pumps and recoup the loss, and not inflicting excessive service charges on the traders themselves, which could in turn be absolutely disastrous for them, but also for the future of the market. And does this current situation, the issues with the previous works at Fleetwood Market, because they were ongoing, they were past timescales, some of the work was shoddy, does it not highlight the importance and the need for a more thorough, robust scrutiny of contractors and services prior to hiring? Obviously, we want value for money, that's what we're here for, but the cheapest option is very rarely the best option. Thank you.
Councillor Pearson and Marinell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your questions. I'll go to the last bit first, if that's okay. So we always scrutinise the people that come forward to do any contracts that go to tender, so we've got to scrutinise all of those. That's really important to do that. I'll come to the last bit first because the first bit is we're taking legal advice on it, so I can't comment on that until we've sort of gone down that route. It would be wrong of me to do so. Any extra costs I would never want to see put onto the traders, because we know what a terrible time we've had over the last couple of years with all the building that's been going on. We want to come to the best conclusion possible where the heating is concerned. It's better than it was, without any doubt at all. Is it perfect? No. So, as I say, because we're taking legal advice, it will be wrong for me to comment any further on that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Birch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Marinell, myself and a number of residents in Tyres Barn have commented on the outstanding work that's been done at Cotton Hall playing field, renovating the pavilion, which is now, I would say, about 95% complete. People have just been asking me, what is next in line, please?
Councillor.
in this big development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your question. There was a small delay, or a few weeks delay, because of the energy
The electricity supply.
had to be supplied. The meters were there, but it had to be all linked up and stuff, so that was done. So I think we're nearly there. I think about a week off, something like that, and it should all be open by that time as well. I think the money that's been spent from the UKSPF on Cotton Hall has been absolutely fantastic. I think the whole project's been really good. I think once it's up and running, it will be great for the community. Everybody that uses it, whether it's football, cricket, the whole lot. I think the whole area is going to be really fantastic. It's nice to see as well. There's going to be really good CCTV there as well.
Yeah, that's up now. It just needs the camera.
Yeah, because we know there's ASB there often, so I think having the cameras up there will be really good. It's the same type of cameras we've got in Poulton at the moment and all around the borough, in Fleetwood and Carstown. I think they're used really well. If you've never seen them, try and go and have a look. The nighttime vision is like daytime. It is just incredible. So I think having those will help there as well. And just while I talk about UKSPF, I think it's the money, the projects we've actually covered with the UKSPF money over the last year or 2 years has been phenomenal, really. Not just Cotton Hall, but the Flake Fest and Transundia Wonderland. There's multiple arts that have been going on as well. We've had in Poulton, we've had the community hall. Just been given the grant of 75,000 to do phase 1, and it's been topped up with another 90,000 for phase 2, which will run alongside at the same time. I think the work that they do at Poulton Community Hall is quite outstanding. It covers so many community groups and residents in general as well. I think that's really good. So I'm pleased to see that. So I think the UKSPF fund has been really good, and the government have done it for another year. I'm hoping they'll carry on for next year, but after Rachel's budget in November, I severely doubt it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
We've got time for one more question. Those that don't get a chance to speak, please, I'm sure the portfolio holder would welcome emails from you. Councillor Rushforth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment, really, Councillor Lamarina. I have worked with the new Planning Enforcement Officer, and I'm very, very pleased to see that there's the mention that this commodity, shall we call it, has increased in Wyre, because one of the big gripes residents have is what they see as being unfair when they follow all the planning rules, all the regulations, and other people openly breach them. So I'm very welcoming and very happy to see that we've got another planning enforcement officer. Thank you.
Thank you. So that, go on.
Just quickly, thank you for your question. I really appreciate it. Same here. When I became a portfolio holder and Michael Linton became the leader of the council, one of the things we wanted to do was have more enforcement within Wyre. I think it had been sort of neglected for quite a long time before that. It hadn't been enforced as much as I'd like it to. I think over the last 2 years we've done a tremendous amount of work. We've done lots and lots of enforcement. There's 128 in the pipeline at the moment, ongoing different files. I think anybody that builds within Wyre that doesn't get planning permission should expect to be enforced against, because that's what we should be doing. Everybody should be treated equally within Wyre, and if you don't put in a planning application, then you can expect the council to come looking for you. So thank you very much for your question.
Thank you, Councillor. That concludes the consideration of the Planning Policy and Economic Development Portfolio Holders Report. We'll now, in a moment, move on to the report of the Neighbourhood Services and Community Safety Portfolio Holder. But before that, I apologise that other people haven't had a chance to speak, but there are rules which I have bent considerably, and I can't bend them anymore, sorry. So we already have some names down for Councillor Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll do my best to respond.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's an alarming rumour in Cleveland that the Princess Road scheme costs circa £500,000 for 100 metres of road. Could you please provide clarification of the actual final cost Or are the streets of Cleveland actually paved with gold and not just gold tarmac? On a further point, it's been reported to me that the 2 gates cost over £30,000 each because of the artwork on them. The problem with that is when there are events on, you can't even see the gates because Care for Cleveland cover them up with their banners. So could I please ask again, could you provide me with the full and final cost of 100 metres of road, because £500,000 seems very excessive. Thank you.
Councillor Berry.
Are you referring to Princess Road?
Yes.
Well, I'm told that it does fall within the portfolio of Councillor Marinell.
Just you report it there on 3 points.
I mentioned it about...
You do mention it, yeah.
About the premises.
But I couldn't get in with Councillor Marinell. I did try.
Councillor Marinell will respond to you by email, if that's okay.
Could I have the full cost, please?
I think it went through LCC to be
It did, but
it did. Well, that's somewhere we should be going to LCC.
But in your political leaflet in the summer, it states Wyre Council paid £494,000 for Princess Road. That's your leaflet, not mine.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Marinell will respond in full to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Rushworth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Berry, I was uplifted to read all about the youth activities in Fleetwood and in Scotland to put effort into our youth and to show them that there's more than antisocial behaviour. There's a lot more out there for them. Is definitely the most positive thing. Thank you.
Councillor.
Yeah, thank you for that. There's a lot going on, to be quite honest, in interventions that we try and make sure that, particularly over the holiday period, there are diversionary activities. But these activities are going out throughout the year, so to be quite honest. And there's marvellous work being done by the police, by Fleetwood Town Community Trust, to name a few. We've got the boat house as well. So there's a lot of, I'm sure I've missed 1 or 2 people, but there's a lot of work being done within the community to foster good relations with our young people and to hopefully put them on the right path, to be quite honest.
Can I say something? I think it shows Wyre in a very, very positive light, and not an awful lot of people out there are aware of the work that goes on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. We've got one more question in this portfolio, and that's Councillor Minto.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To support Councillor Berry on section 3.7 of the... Wait, can you hear me? Right. To support Councillor Berry on his report on 3.7, he mentions about quite a few activities going ahead, or planned to be going ahead. But we have, he probably won't know this is why I'm mentioning it to him, the Mini Links golf course in Fleetwood, which we have unfortunately been ongoing nearly 2 years or more, is still not finalised. They still haven't got the electricity or water services to their office. Can you please push this along, Councillor? Thank you very much.
Councillor.
I think that's outside my portfolio, Councillor, I'm afraid. I mean, it's good that this organisation is supporting, things to support young people. I think it's important as well, isn't it, that if people use the facility, then they're going to respect the facility. And I think it's so important that those facilities are there and are not despoiled by anyone. So I think that the idea is to make sure that young people use them. Now, I can't answer your questions about, electricity supply, etc., etc. That is down to, I think, possibly Mark Billington may be able to come back to you on that and give you some advice on that.
All right, thank you very much, Councillor Berry. Just to add to that, how do you think they're going to use it if there's no electricity or water? Thank you.
I'm sorry, but I'm not in charge of that, so it's not within my. I wish I could answer it.
We know that, but why don't you please just ask? Let's get this. This has been going on for 2 years or more. You're saying about the youngsters using it, but they can't use it because it's not properly open.
Well, I think Councillor Berry said that he's not able to answer that question.
I think, Council, as I indicated to you, our officer, Mark Billington, will inquire of estates and come back to you on that. I cannot give you an answer this evening on that.
It wasn't. All right.
Thank you, Councillor. So that concludes the consideration of the Neighbourhood Services and Community Safety Portfolio Holders Report. And we'll now move on to the report of the Leisure, Health and Community Engagement Portfolio Holder. Councillor Byrne, would you please introduce your report?
Yeah, my report's before you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I notice some hands going up, so we'll count them. Right, well, the list being made, I know Lady Dulcie was the first on it, so if you'd like to continue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was delighted to read in the Courier, when I got back from holiday this morning, that the skate park in Garstang has been approved. I hope very much that this can be sorted out by half term this year, because there's a definite need for, as we've been talking, for young people to have these facilities. And up until now, it has been a great facility, and we fought long and hard to get it many, many, many years ago. So it would be delightful to see the whole thing being revamped. So as soon as possible, please.
Councillor.
Yeah, we've got a contract ready to start sorting out. We haven't. They're going to start imminently, but we haven't got the exact date. But I can get the exact date and Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Talking about the weather, again we've had a glorious summer, the best since 1976, but unfortunately the splash pad had to be closed again. Every year since the splash pad has been open, it's been closed due to parts it needs repairing. Can you give me some clarification on what is actually causing these issues for the splash pad not to be open on one of the best summers we've ever had? Thank you.
Councillor.
I can't tell you how annoyed I am about this, honestly. I was so furious. I've got a little granddaughter, 2 years old. I've been taking it every time it's been shut. I can't tell you how annoyed I've been, and so have the rest of the people that have got children who wanted to take. And it's all down to the part not being ordered. Also, the contractors that are supposed to do it, making mistakes and all the rest of it, had to send to Germany for some special part. It was open for 1 day and then it shut again, and I couldn't believe it myself. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm more annoyed than what you are. Anyway, next year.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just a quick question on the Marine Hall. Is the beer festival still happening? I've been asked numerous times about what's happening with it. It doesn't seem to be on anymore.
All the what's going on with the beer.
Yeah. I was wondering, has camera pulled out of Fleetwood, because there doesn't seem to be anything on social media either.
I think you did put out. Anyway, I'll find out the details and I'll let you know.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Rushworth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It seems I'm full of praise this month, but I'm sure next month I will revert back to my true self. It's marvellous, again, something very important to the residents, that action has been taken against antisocial neighbours, because this is something, you know, people come to me regularly about this and they feel they're banging their heads against the wall. So, you know, I can assure them that paths can be taken to sort out antisocial neighbours. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I was glad to read that as well, because it must be nothing worse than having neighbours that, you know, knocking on the walls and all the rest of it,
Councillor. Councillor Higginson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I wonder if I could ask Councillor Bowen if she'd be kind enough to thank Councillor Marinell for turning up at our site meeting back in August. Could she also ask him if there's an updated reinstatement of the hedge on Fleetwood Road North? Thank you, Mr Mayor.
That's too late, I'll tell you. I'll get back to you.
Councillor.
Very clever.
So that concludes. Yes, it does. We've got no more questions, have we? So only now is the time for members of the cabinet if you've got any questions.
No.
Right answer. We can take that as a universal no then. So that concludes the consideration of the Neighbourhood Services and Community... Oh, sorry, wrong one. I haven't got your page. That concludes the consideration of executive reports. And we'll now move on to the agenda item 8, periodic report, lead member for climate change. Councillor Robert Atkins, would you please introduce your report?
Chairman, Mr Mayor, thank you very much indeed. Let me preface my remarks by putting on record what I say almost every time in relation to this issue, namely that the subcommittee, which meets under the auspices of overview and scrutiny, we try collectively to ensure that what we discuss, which by definition is not specific but ongoing, is across the political spectrum. And I'm extremely grateful to all members of the committee, regardless of their political persuasions, in terms of their contribution. And I think they would agree, and I hope they would agree with me, that we've achieved quite a lot in terms of overview and scrutiny on climate change issues. And I'm particularly grateful for that. Second thing I'd like to add, if I may, is that I took the opportunity to write to the new leader of the County Council about some of the issues that we have discussed, not least, as many colleagues will know, for example, next April, we are introducing food waste collection, which the last Conservative government implemented and which has been reinforced by the present government. That's a major change to recycling and waste collection, and consequently I wanted to know what the County Council's view on that was, as well as fly tipping, as well as tree planting, as well as the maintenance of the highways and roads which fall to the County Council in terms of detritus, rubbish and growing activity. I also raised education, and specifically following on earlier concerns, I raised the Jameson Road site with the leader of the County Council. I did so on the basis that I began to hear from, for example, Kent County Council, that they were reneging on the climate change commitment under the new administration. I wanted to be certain that that was not happening in relation to us. And I was pleased to receive a response from the portfolio holder, which I copied to Councillor Bridge and to the Marinell, as well as the leader as relevant portfolio holders, in which the portfolio holder indicated that he was minded to continue with the commitments that had been made by the previous administration. And I've also asked officers to check at the officer level to make sure that that is maintained. But in general terms, what we've begun to do on the climate change operation is to steer clear of the controversy, if I can put it that way, and concentrate on the environmental issues and what they can achieve for the outlook of the borough, whether it's mundane matters like waste disposal or whether it's tree planting, etc. Colleagues will be aware of all the sorts of things that we need to do. We are, of course, bound by the County Council in many issues, and even more so by government. But I want colleagues to be reassured that the subcommittee is doing everything it possibly can to improve, maintain and renovate, in some instances, the environmental issues within the borough. I'm happy to take any further comments, Mr Mayor, if that would help.
Thank you, Sir Robert. I invite any comments or questions, and Sir Robert will respond after they've all been heard. So if there are any, would you like to put your hand up? Thank you, Councillor Berry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to thank Sir Robert and his subcommittee for all the work that they are doing. Members of the Cabinet do appreciate the work that you are carrying out, and we appreciate the fact that it is very non-political, so we do get an independent view on this. But I think it's important that we want to thank you for the initiative that you took in contacting County Hall on those vital subjects. I think it was a marvellous initiative for you to undertake. I hope we've got some positive sort of feedback from County, and obviously now we want to make sure they're going to deliver on that and support us on those initiatives. So many thanks to you and your committee for all the work you're doing. Greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Berry. I think Councillor Rushforth got your hand up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a very important and good point that you made, that keeping away from all controversy on a micromanagement level, you're doing whatever you think you can within the borough to improve the environment and to improve any environmental problems. I think if we all take that with us in our lives, then we can make a listen to me now, we can actually make a difference on a small level that all builds to a bigger level. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rushforth. Any more comments or questions before I ask Sir Robert to respond? No, Sir Robert, would you kindly respond?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Berry. It is appreciated, and I hope that my colleagues on that committee appreciate that the Cabinet appreciates what we're doing. And indeed, I'm grateful also to you that clearly the issue is controversial in the large, but specifically we need to carry on doing things that makes this borough as special as it is. I always enjoy hearing Councillor Bridge talk about the parks and the people who look after them. We've got a tremendous environment here in the borough as it stands, but we need to continue to improve it, not least because of the young people who follow us. I neglected to mention two things. We produced some leaflets. Education is one of the key things, not just of youngsters, but the public generally. How many times do you go into a pub and someone says, I'm in favour of recycling, but I'm not sure what I need to do or how I need to do it? We are looking at that with the communications unit of the borough to see whether we can get across in a better way. Councillor Bridge knows, and he tells me forcibly on occasions, that we send out leaflets about which bin to use and stuff like that. But we produced a whole series of leaflets here, not just about bins, but about a whole series of other environmental issues. I'm not entirely certain how you get hold of them, but doubtless I will find out in due course. But these will be available, and I recommend that you have a sheath, each one of you, so at least you can tell your constituents what needs to be told and when it needs to be told.
Thank you, Sir Robert. In my haste, I think I cut Councillor Iddison's hand off.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's not necessarily a question, but a comment. I note in Sir Robert's report that he mentions agriculture. One of the key issues in our government, which was instigated by, I think it was that fellow called Boris, that we would have 30 by 30, which basically means that 30% of our land is taken out of agriculture and put into environmental schemes. This issue is still the commitment of our present government. However, there is concern within the agricultural industry that they are not supporting agriculture, and they are not assisting with the appropriate funding in grants to enable this to happen. And I just wanted to make that comment.
Well, Chairman, I declare an interest in that my daughter, indeed our daughter, who is the Shadow Secretary of State for the Environment and looks after agriculture specifically, has got that point and needs to get across. But I think collectively it's something that we really need to think about. After all, we consume quite a lot of food in this country, and agriculture is significant in that, whether in Lancashire, Lincolnshire or anywhere else. So the point is well taken, and I hope that colleagues representing who have government have government MPs rather on their side can make that point as forcibly as Councillor has done here. Thanks.
Thank you, Sir Robert. The report is noted, and you'll all be delighted to know that we've got no notice of motion submitted, so therefore this meeting is now closed. Thank you everyone for attending.